It's like I never left. Yeah. Okay, one more. This one?
Yes, well, we need to, just in case something goes wrong, so we've got that.
Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Two 1-5. Yaimam madhvadam veda
Yaimam madhyadam veda
Atmanam jivamantikat
Atmanam jivamantika
Ishanam bhutabhavyasya
Ishanam bhutavavyasya
Natato vijugupsate
Natato vijugupsate
Etadvaitat.
Etadvaitat.
Yeah, so the last mantra was about the having understood oneself not as the waker and the sleeper, but as what? As the one who inhabits the waking state, the sleeping state, and what other state? The dream state. The one who inhabits all this is neither the waker nor the dreamer nor the sleeper, and we had a good discussion about that. And so this is the one who is to be understood. This is all Tvam Pada Siddhi up till now. Now starting with this one we will have Mahavakya. Whenever this Etad Vaitat comes, it's a Mahavakya. This indeed is that alone. And this is a very interesting, very nice mantra. Yaha, the one who, anyone that, what, imam, this, madhvadam, madhu, atti, iti, madhvadaha. Madhu is what? Honey. Atti means what? Ada bhakshane, atti, eats. The honey eater. Who is the honey eater? Don't say bee. No. Yeah. Don't say bee. Bee is madhukaraha, honey maker. Not madhvadaha, honey eater. Who is the honey eater? Jiva, you, oneself alone. What is the honey? Don't say significant other. That will be problematic. What is the honey that one eats? The karma phala. Karma phala is the honey. Yeah. You don't eat the significant other. That honey you are not eating here. Here we are talking of the eater of the honey. What is the honey? The sweet, the condensed, sweet, good karma gained by a lot of buzzing, making buzzing noises around flowers, etc., gained with a lot of effort. Honey is not made just like that. First you have to make that, gather the pollen, and then you have to, make that honeycomb, and then make the honey storing in it. So that is how honey is a very intricate process. And it is stored in this, what is it called? Honeycomb. comb. Yeah, it is nothing to do with a comb, but it's these beautiful hexagonal little compartments. Now this is something very nice, and it is honey is compared to the karma phala. Why? Because there is a similarity in the collection. Karma phala one guards with life. My punya, you can't have it. You know, and to get punya is not easy. Correct? Yeah. You have to help old people across the street and you don't find anyone to help. And then, you know, even if you try to help, they say, I'm not that old, get away from me, don't help. It's not easy to do punya. Yeah, at least from the standpoint of ancient India, it's not easy to do punya. So, madhvadaha, someone who is terribly, possessive about the honey that one has collected, honey in the form of good karma. Simply, why should you collect honey? Why is the honey collected? So that you can to experience it. It's all about experience. This is the ignorance is equal to experience. That's all it is. So this ignorant jiva means what? Jiva, full of peeves, full of a sense of longing and no sense of belonging. That is jiva. Longing without belonging, fully in samsara, and is always looking for sweet experiences. And the sweet experiences are incumbent upon one's own karma phala. If one's own fruits of actions do not allow it, how will the sweet experiences come? They will not come. Only the bitter things will come, because that is what one has gathered. If you gather bitter fruits, that's what will happen. Because in the previous life, if you have done things to embitter other people's lives, this life will not be full of neither honey nor money. Nothing will be there, because it's all, gathered. So this gatherer, first one is a hunter of experiences, then one is a gatherer. That's why, we have this whole hunter-gatherer image. First one is a hunter of experiences, then one is a gatherer of the fruits of experience. So the one never grows out of this. What is that? Nomadic hunter-gatherer stage. Always hunting, always gathering, always hunting. And gathering in order to what? Expend. So you hunt, you gather, you expend, you experience, and then again you have a depletion. The dabba, the container of karma phala, the level goes down. And then what? You have to go and refill it. It's all. Honey, you have that funny face in that honey bottle with a little spout on top. Bear. It's a bear? Oh, okay. So anyway, and then you press it, and then once it finishes, then you have to get a refill. This is how it is. So here also, this is the madhvadaha. This madhvada, madhu atti iti adaha, just like so many short forms. Pati iti paha, pibati iti api, ityapi paha, janati iti nyaha, karoti iti krit, karoti iti krit, jayate iti jaha. What else? Jayate iti jaha, dadati iti daha, bharati iti bibharti iti bhrit. Yeah. Bhunkte iti, bhunkte means eats. Bhuk, 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 bhujau, bhujaha. Yes. How the ka becomes ja, don't ask. Certain questions, let it go until you study Sanskrit. So bhunkte, the one who eats, is called bhuk. Karma phalam bhunkte iti, karma phala bhuk, not book. This is book. Yeah, book. Mahaprana. You have to breathe over it. Yes. So these are all Sanskrit trivia. Now back to the back to the point. Madhu Atti Madhvadaha. The one who is not just a eater of honey. That's not the correct translation. The one who is a honey hog. Yes. Honey addict. Addicted to the fruits of action. Becomes actor in order to become an experiencer. So you see the cycle, karta, actor, and then what? Bhokta, experiencer, and then the depletion of the karma phala. So again karta, bhokta, then you become kind of tied to this wheel of misfortune. Yeah, this is this is what it is, not wheel of fortune, wheel of misfortune, wheel of missed fortune. Because whenever you spin along with it, only the bad numbers come. This is what it is. Why? Karma phala doesn't cooperate. You keep wanting this, that or the other, and then what you get is a big headache, and then you have to go and buy some balm for the headache, and then then it just keeps extending the action. You become an actor to become an enjoyer, but then you are not an enjoyer, you are not even an experiencer other than misery. Then you pile up some more arsenal of karma, hoping that it will turn out right. It does not, and one is left wanting. So this cycle, the one who is trapped in this cycle is called Madhvadaha, the honey hog. Who is the honey hog? The karma phala bhuk, karma phala hog, And the one, why do you want the fruit of action? Because you want to have a good life. See, I talked about this last time. Why do you work hard all day? So that you can relax in the evening. That's the only reason. Oh, when will I get to relax? Kathamaham shanti meshyami. When will I get to relax? Then you work hard for 5 days. Why? 2 days you get to really relax. Kick the can. And then what? Means aimless pastime. You keep kicking the can down the road. Aimlessly, you just, because you don't want to have anything to do. And then what? Then why do you work for 360 days? So that 5 days or 15 days at the end you can get these holidays. Then you are tired after having the holiday, then you need a vacation from the vacation. So nowadays people come back early from the vacation, don't tell anybody, and then close the blinds and have a staycation to get over the vacation. Because the vacation also because the same buddhi, same mind goes to the vacation, it's always spinning. So even in the vacation you are spinning, and you are fighting with everybody for every camping spot and everything. You make you are in a spot because you have made your life miserable and those of others as well. And then one comes back even more tired, crushed, rushed, upset. This is the fate of the honey hog. But the honey hog has 2 aspects. One aspect is the karta bhokta, this cycle which we just described. The another aspect is what upholds the status of this honey hog. The honey hog is just a superimposition on that I, which is the sakshi, sakshad ikshate, that which always, is the witness of everything. The honey hog is just a superimposition. The honey addict is just a superimposition of that which is the Atma. Atma plus honey hog. So Atma wearing honey hog hat. Yes, that's all. Atma wearing a bear mask. Why bear mask? Not only because it likes honey, but it cannot bear to not have any. So it is just completely addicted to the status of the actor, the status of the doer, and the status of the experiencer of the results of action. And the whole thing is like a train. It's a vicious tie that binds one into finite actions and finite experiences, so that the infinite is missed. Where is the infinite? The one that sustains the finite happens to be infinite. The infinite is not outside of the honey hog watching the honey hog. Correct? So there is no outside inside. In fact, the honey hog is able to be a honey addict because of that unafflicted, non-addicted I, aham, atma, that self which is over which the honey hog is superimposed. Like even like even the, if you look at a light and then you put some kind of a shade over it which has a shape, like sometimes you put an earthen pot with a shape of a star cut out, you put this over a lamp. First you are just seeing the lamp and then you see a star shaped reflection of the light. So this is the honey hog, that thinks it is the star, that thinks it is starring in its own life, but really speaking, what is making it a star is that lamp which has no form, no name, no shape, which is the truth of everything, which is Jyotisham Jyotihi, the light of all lights. So Yaha, the one who recognizes in this honey hog as this honey hog as what? Madhvadam Veda, recognizes, cognizes, understands, knows what? Atmanam, this self only. Antikat Veda. Antikat here means not at the end. Antikat means closely, intimately, proximately. So it's not enough to have a nodding acquaintance. What is a nodding acquaintance? Before you are introduced, you nod off, So, so it's not enough to have that kind of an acquaintance. You have to have, you should know yourself as the one who is broadcasting oneself as a honey hog, but the truth of the honey hog is free of honey and the hogging nature, both. It is free of, it's the witness of the honey and the hog. It is superimposed, the hoggish nature is superimposed upon which the honey is superimposed upon which honey is object. Hoggish nature is the subject. Both subject, object are superimposed upon which Atma, this I alone, has to be known intimately, meaning I have to own it up as myself. It's not like, oh hi, how are you doing, from a distance. That's why it says Antikat, Atmanam Veda. Katham Veda, how do I have to know the Atma? Jivam Veda. Oh, I have to think of myself as a Jiva? No. No, that is the honey hog. Here Jiva has a different meaning. The sustainer of all life. The sustainer of everything that is manifest, everything that is yet to be manifest, everything that is unmanifest, of everything. So Yaha Imam Madhvadam, the one who knows this honey hog, which is the truth of oneself, as the truth of oneself. The one who knows, who is able to see beyond the surface level perception of action, reaction, fruit of action and action, reaction, again and again. The one who sees, witnesses this hamster hog, in search of honey on its little wheel of misfortune. Sorry, go round, going round and round. The one who is able to witness that and intimately knows this to be that alone, just a mist projection, and is able to laugh at that. But instead one is secure in one's knowledge, aham jivaha, not jiva as in piva, but jiva as in jivati, that which is the source of all consciousness, that which is the source of everything that has come, the whole, jagat. And then what? And the one who knows, and who is this jiva? Ishanam. This jiva is again Ishvara, very nice play of words. The one who knows it as jiva, the source of the sustenance. And who is this jiva? Ishvara. Very nice pun, isn't it? Yeah. Upanishad is having fun with this pun. So Ishanam Veda. Everything that is in is the object. So Yaha is the subject, the one who, Veda, knows, verb, Madhvadam. So the Madhvadam is in apposition with Jivam and Ishanam, correct? Say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Madhvadam, apposition, not opposition. Apposition. What is apposition? Same number, case and gender. When it agrees, it is called apposition. So, it is identical. They have the identical case, gender and number. What is the case, gender and number? Object, object, object. All of them? Yeah. And then singular, singular, singular. Masculine, masculine, masculine. Happens to be. Oh, Atma is masculine? No. Atma is not masculine. We have seen that earlier. Here it is described from the standpoint of Isha. The word Isha is masculine. Therefore, everything is in apposition. Madhvadam is equal to what? Jivam is equal to Ishanam. Antikat means it's an adverb here. How? Intimately. It's an adverb. So there is an apposition or an identity between the sorry fellow who is a helpless honey hog and the one who is the sustainer, the ruler of the entire Jagat. What is in common? If you put the honey hog and Ishvara side by side, if you get them together for coffee, what will they talk about? What will they have in common? Nothing, because this one is full of, is feeling sorry for itself all the time, is feeling that somebody is taking my honey, is always trying to, find ways to lock up the honey, is feeling that the honey it's got scarcity mentality with regard to the honey. Honey means everything that you have worked for. And the other one is secure in the knowledge that everything belongs to me, nay, everything is myself alone. What do they have in common? If you get together Madhvadaha and Ishaha for coffee, you make them meet in Starbucks, they will not have anything to talk about. Because one will always be looking furtively around, who is coming, what is coming, and clutching the wallet and being full of fear and tyrannized by anything that comes and goes. Refer to the last class. Like Shita, Ushna, Sukha, Dukha, etc. You can do anuvritti of all that. Anything that comes and goes, Agama, Pahi, anything that is there, one is totally and terribly affected. Which one? The honey hog. And here the honey hog is sitting face to face with Isha. And Isha is Ishate, fully secure, the overlord of everything, all compassion, all knowledge, omniscient, omnipresent, sarvagyaha, sarvavit. And this other fellow is still doubting how to spell omniscient. That is one. Does the I go before E or afterwards? And is there a C or not? This is the one. So what do they have in common? Nothing at all. But still, with alacrity, the Upanishad says, Etat, this fellow, this Prakritam fellow, this sad little honey hog, is none other than Isha. What temerity! How dare it say this? How can it even, articulate this? Why? What is the basis for it? Because the basis is that the two forms which are having coffee, and the two names, they may be different because one name is Isha, the other one is Anisha, honey hog. And the honey hog and the honey maker, there is no connection because the status, the surface level incompatibility, the surface level incompatibility. And if they sit there long enough to discover what is compatible, there will be a pleasant surprise. In fact, there is no two people sitting, there is only one. What happened? Honey hog disappears into that, and the Ishvara hood, Ishvara ness. You have to remember, Ishvara doesn't disappear. Jiva also doesn't disappear. What disappears? Jiva hood. Ishvara hood. Yeah. The hoodie is taken away. That's the thing. So there is an unmasking of the superficial dharmas or attributes that make up on this hand the sad, bad, mad, rad jiva, and the honey hog, and on the other hand the glorious, fantastic, happy, contented, secure, all knowing, all pervasive Ishvara. So there is an identity which is hidden by the addiction. The honey hog, that's why it is this thing. That, in other words, very subtly, it is without mentioning, it is being mentioned, it is told that as long as you are addicted to karma phala, the Isha that you are really searching for goes under the radar. Why? Because you don't see that there is no need to seek. If you don't see, you seek. That's what it is. You don't see that the seeker and the sought happens to be one and the same. And like a cat getting the crazies, during the day, you're chasing your own tail, and you don't see that. You don't see that you don't even need to chase your own tail. Tail is you, head is you, everything is you alone. There is no enemy. There is nothing to protect. There is nothing to worry about scarcity. Nothing is being endangered. Nothing is being taken away. Nothing is being terrorized. Nothing is being held hostage. All that is there is your own glory. And that glory, which is donning a garb, a glorious garb, is called Ishvara. One with the same inglorious garb. A sad little hand-me-down is Jiva. That's all it is. A used, tattered chaddar. Chaddar means cloth. Yeah. It's tattered chaddar, A beaten rag one is wearing. What is the rag? This body. That's all. Ragged, jagged body. This is the rag that one is wearing. And for Ishvara, what is Ishvara's body? All the whole universe is the body. Plus the power, the pelf, the ability to rule, the overlord of all the laws. This is Ishvara. And who is this sad little honey hog? Just is fixated on honey, karma phala bhuj, bhuk. Yeah. And so this karma phala bhuk, the word bhuk has the force of the bhunkte, has the force of what's the word for it? Has the force of overeating, overindulgence. So karma phala bhuk means karma phala hog. Doesn't know when to stop eating. Doesn't know when to say enough. Alam bhava is not there. Alam means enough. Yeah. This is the concept of the hungry ghost. We have that concept. Who has a needle for the throat. So size of the throat is needle. Needle for the throat, meaning you can only take in little sips or little small pulverized meals at a time. But the stomach is like a huge drum. This is what it is. This is the jiva. This epitomizes the jiva, the hungry ghost, and has a haunting relationship to the karma phala. Haunts the karma phala from past lives, goes after it, scares it, makes it cough up some goodies, presses it to yield some goodies, and then becomes, fixated on these goodies. When the goodies deplete, more karma is done, more action is done, so becomes a collector of karma phala, not to put it in the showcase and for display, but to keep on, filling up this addiction. And what is really this addiction for honey or whatever is described here, karma phala? The addiction is to feel secure. That is what. The addiction is to not feel so bad about oneself. The addiction is to find newer and newer distractions to overcome this insecurity and self-loathe so that one can feel somewhat okay. And that's why we put all these, one puts all these things in play so that one can have a modicum of security, because one cannot stand oneself. That's why one is totally dependent on siphoning off the karma phala, thinking that at least some little goodies I can have. So the addiction is to scarcity and insecurity. That is really the addiction, to filling up this scarcity. And so on the other hand we have Purusha, Ishvara, which is filling up everything. Ishanaha, the ruler, the truth of everything. What is everything? Bhutascha, bhavyascha, of what was, bhuta. Bhuta means past. And what is to be, bhavyas, the future. And by inference, the present is included. Vartamanascha api, by inference. So, Ishanaha bhuta bhavyasya. This is where the identification has to take place. And for this, what is needed is the removal of the superficial differences. The differences are superficial. They have to be removed. How? Cognitively removed. Cognitively removed through this teaching. And here, this is a Mahavakya because the Ishvara and the Jiva are being talked about in apposition as being identical. Then how don't I see the identity if they are identical? I don't see the identity because I am caught up in that smallness. I don't see the identity because I am identified with something else other than that. And I don't see the identity finally because there is an occlusion of my vision. The vision is occluded by the cataract of ajnanam, ignorance. What kind of ignorance? Ignorance of the whole, ignorance of myself, which happens to be the whole. So this is why I don't see this at all. And so therefore what? Yaha imam madhvadam veda atmanam jivam antika. And the jivam here means the sustainer of everything, including prana, that which gives jivanam. Antikat, totally, intimately, completely. And then what do I get out of this? Na tataha, na tataha, therefore, thereafter, viju gupsate. The root verb is gup, to hide. And jigupsate, jugupsate, not jigupsate. Jugupsate is a desiderative formation which both includes the desire and the embodiment of that desire also. The desiring and the desirer both are included in this jugupsa. I told you there are three roots that take on the desiderative, both in their own sense and as the desiderative nouns. Gup, tij and kit. Gup, tij, kidbhyaha, san, that is the sutra. And so viju gupsate. Gup is to hide. Hide means what? To hoard. Here. To hoard. Like karma phala. And how do you hoard? By putting the lock on the door. Like a safe deposit box for all the valuable papers, jewelry. You have a locker. And if you've seen a locker in a bank, first you go to the bank. That itself has a lock and door. Then you go inside another door that is also locked. Some banks, they open only if you stare into it because it has this retinal scanning. Then you go inside that door, then it leads to a flight of stairs where there is another door which is a huge deal. It has 5-6 keys from top to bottom, and then it has this round thing which looks like you're steering a ship. And then you open that, everything clangs into place or out of place, it clangs back, and then the person who takes you, at least in India, this is how it is. So it grunts. It's usually it's just not greased properly, and it says, "What? You want me to open again?" Okay, it grunts open. Only part way, because that's how far it will go. Then you go inside that. Then there are all these areas where the lockers are, and your particular area is with 50 other lockers. Area 51. So, yeah, by this time it is all looking very alien and funny. And then that has another door, another smaller one with all these, things. And then you get that open, and then you go to the locker, and that has also 3 keys, and then you have 2 and the bank has 1, and then you match it, and then you put your thumbprint and you promise your firstborn child. After doing all the formalities, then they open the middle one, and you have to simultaneously put the first one and the last one and open it. Out pops the safe deposit box. And then you sit and look at it and admire your jewelry or your important deeds and titles, whatever you have put. You keep that. This is what is called gup. To hoard and to protect from the perceived or real intruders. And then you look at it for 2 minutes. And then they say, okay, the bank is closing, because it's a big effort to close this whole area 51, your safe deposit locker number. So then you have to put that back, and then again the blessed thing will not lock. You have to put the top key and the bottom key, and the bank will lock the middle key, and then you withdraw all the keys at once, and then and then they keep their key, you keep your key, and then you come out, the first door is closed, the second door is closed, then the third door is closed, then you come up the flight of stairs and that door is closed. Then you go out of the bank door has already been closed. They open the door and let you a little bit, you should have lost weight after coming in. Then you have to you should have to be as thin as a wafer to go outside this. Then that is also shut. This is what it is. This is what is called jigupsa, gopayitum ichha. The desire to hold and lock up everything, the desire to lock down every possession from real or perceived intruders. Don't think it's just with titles and deeds and jewelry. It's also with ideas. Yeah. Intellectual lockdown. And people do this all the time with recipes. Oh, how did you make this? People do this. How did you make this? This is wonderful. Oh, I just threw something together. No, really, how did you make this? I want the recipe. If somebody sits on your head, you have to give. And this person will omit a few touches on purpose. Trade secret. Like what's in Coca-Cola. The recipe is in lockdown. Yeah. The recipe is in somewhere in some offshore bank in a safe deposit box like the one I described. Nobody knows. Everybody thinks it's sugar, water and aeration. Practically it is that. But in what proportion you don't know. And what else they are putting, they don't want you to know, you don't know. And so like this, the recipe also, this is intellectual lockdown. You don't say, you either give all the ingredients, but conveniently forget to say that it has to be sauteed for half an hour over a low flame. Just conveniently forget that. And so of course whatever they make is not going to be the real thing, And then what? It's not going to taste as good as your thing, because you are afraid. This insecurity causes lockdowns. This is what it is. Yeah, scarcity, insecurity, lockdown, gopayitum ichha, the desire to lock down, the desire to first hold and then lock it down. And people do all this, and then if supposing somebody comes to know how you make it, and they make it in the same way, you can sue them and say, this was my trade secret, these people have come and stolen it. And the very funny thing is that, in India, we have we had, I don't know how many now, but about 400 varieties of rice, maybe 500, different varieties, each one with its own property. Now, thanks to Monsanto, all that is a thing of past. And then, Monsanto comes in and says to the farmers, you cannot hoard the seeds. You have to buy seeds from us. What kinds of seeds? Terminator seeds. Meaning, they defy the definition of seed. What's the basic thing the seed should do? Reproduce. They don't reproduce. Then you have to go back and buy the patent again from them. This is crazy. This is what is called insecurity on a global corporate scale. And like this we've been using mustard for 5,000 years. Mustard is a great preservative. No bugs, nothing. And here one company got extra smart. And you know what they did? They found out some kind of this is the problem with the essential extract which is in mustard, which has that preservative function. And you know what they did? They extracted it and they coated the what is that? Foil paper. Aluminium. Aluminium foil? Yeah, aluminium foil and another thing that comes, that clear one. Yeah, plastic wrap. They coated that so that anything that you wrap in that will not bacteria will not attack it. Meaning the shopkeepers already they are selling old sandwiches. Yeah. And you can keep it on the shelf forever. Almost. Practically. You can fool the customers because you have this special wrap coated with this, whatever is the essential thing in mustard. Mustard? No. Fenugreek. That's the one. Fenugreek. Yeah. Fenugreek. That has the preservative. I said mustard because I was thinking in Hindi, methi, and it starts with M. So, fenugreek. It has that kind of a viscose thing. Like if you put it in water, it has that slimy thing, and that is actually it's got a lot of preservative, natural preservative. And they said we want to patent this because we have discovered this, and we knew all this. All our pickles are full of this. Even mustard is a little bit of a preservative, but not like all our pickles are full of fenugreek. Without fenugreek, you cannot do anything, and we know this from a long time. So the Indian government, which is usually sleeping, woke up and said, sorry, you cannot lock this down. Same thing, they grew basmati rice in Texas and now they are calling it Texmati. Yeah. Texmati. Like this, so many things they wanted. And then somebody wanted to patent yoga. Some bhogis wanted, not yogis, wanted to patent yoga. That also the Indian government finally rubbed its eyes and came to action and said you cannot lock this down because this is communal property. This is our historical legacy. You cannot lock this down. But otherwise this lockdown is a sad state of affair. First you lock everything down and then you feel locked in. This is what it is. Locked in syndrome. This is what it is. You can't reach out. In fact, this locked in syndrome is a real thing. Like if somebody has a serious accident, you cannot even blink to say yes or no. And then, before they send you to the morgue, somehow you have to show that you are in there even though you cannot even move, not a millimeter, in your body. Somehow you have to convince. This is what is called locked in syndrome. So you have to use every single will the person has to use. And the body itself is in lockdown. This is what it is. So this is actually the jiva's plight. And in a very small way, not to compare with this ailment called locked in syndrome, but in a small way, this what is that? This jiva, I don't want to call jiva because here jiva means something else. This honey hog is first locks up everything they own And what happens? Feels left out of the game. Yeah. Because if you keep locking up everything that you have, nobody comes to play. Yeah, and then you feel alone and lonely. This is what it is. I'll take my toys, I'll go home. So you're not ready to just engage with the Jagat, even on an objective level, as someone who is embodied. You are alienating yourself, already born alienated, born ignorant. The alienation comes out of ignorance. Born ignorant, born alienated, you are what? You are therefore completely, reproducing that alienation by locking yourself further and further away through prepositions, pronouns such as me, mine, it's all belonging to me. It's not yours, it's mine. I have the right to lock this down. And then after that, suddenly the person feels lonely. No one is around. Because everybody is also in lockdown. So therefore what? This is what is called jiva-hood, the very sad state of affairs. This is what happens when you are a honey hog. Honey hog is equal to alienated from Ishvara, is equal to just, getting ready to have occasional little tastes of honey. Rest of the time it is bitter, in bitter melon, Karela juice. Bitter melon? Yeah. You go to the Asian market, you will find it there. Not a very savory looking vegetable. And then you cut it into pieces and then, just saute it and eat it with some salt. And then it cleans out everything. Yeah. Yeah, it brings down the fever, and then it takes it takes out all the worms and bad bacteria, everything. It detoxifies. So usually it's bitter melon juice. In between some sweetness comes. Yeah. If you flavor bitter melon juice with honey, what are your chances of tasting only the honey? It will always be a mixed juice. Yeah. It will not be sweet. So the truth of the honey hog I have finally revealed. What is the truth of the honey hog? The honey hog is just a honey hog. What it really ingests is not honey at all. It is neither money nor honey. Bitter juice of the repast, literally. The past regurgitated in the form of karma. So it's the bitter repast visiting the present. And this sad little honey hog keeps sipping because in the hope that suddenly it will turn sweet. This is what it is. But it won't. Because the sweetness is at best incidental, occasional, rare. Why? Because so much karma. The addiction to honey makes one transgress dharma. That's what the whole thing is. This is not all said. We have to extrapolate here. Upanishad is a lady of few words. Doesn't talk much. But what is being said is that the one who has this pressure to drink the honey of good karma will be cutting a few corners to get there. And in the process, transgressing what is called dharma, what is correct, what is right, what is conducive to me, what I should be doing, what I should not be doing, that discrimination goes away, is the pressure for the sweetness, to produce sweetness in life. For that the ends justify the means. This desire to have sweetness makes one, let go of the means, to compromise on the means for the sake of the ends, and therefore in so doing they transgress what is known as dharma, the universal web of norms that is a manifestation of Ishvara. And so when you transgress against Ishvara, then karma comes in the form of the bitter melon juice. Difficulties come, and then again one is addicted to that sweetness. So one really, in this embittered life, one keeps transgressing dharma to produce this sweetness. This is what is madhvadaha. Such a person is tired, alienated, in lockdown mode, mind me, you cannot have it, that kind of a person. And all that this person needs to do is see that I am that force which sustains all life on the earth or anywhere there is life. I am that consciousness which sustains all bodies, all minds, including this ragged body. I am the one that sustains. And not only that, I am the ruler of the past and the present. I am the Atma, the self that is so glorious. And I am the only thing there is. Don't think there are three things, Atma, Jiva, Ishvara. No, all that are in apposition. They are qualifying one and the same thing. They are just describing it further and further. I am that alone without a second. And so, if there is nothing to lock down, the lockdown comes when there are two things, correct? Yeah. When there is only one thing. Why to lock? There is no need to lock. The locking happens when there are two things, and then you are afraid of that second thing. Dvaitadhi bhayam bhavati. The fear is due to the second thing, attacking you or your possessions or what have you. So here there are no two things, because this jiva, the sad mad fellow, is really shown as Ishvara. The sad mad fellow is Ishvara plus ignorance. That's all it is. An ignorant manifestation, really. A manifestation of self-ignorance is the honey hog. So the honey hog is really no need to lock up the honey, because the honey is not going anywhere. The honey is not a possession outside of itself that it is hoping to have. The honey is itself alone. It enjoys limitlessness, which is the sweetest thing ever, because there is nobody to stop. There is nothing to take it away from you, and there is no limitations in terms of time, in terms of space, or in terms of what? Object-wise limitations. So therefore, tataha, when that happens, at that time when this knowledge is assimilated, then na vijugupsate, na kaschit gopaitum ichhati. Does not need to lock down anything, because the person recognizes oneself as so secure, does not need safe deposit box, does not need any boxes, nothing. So this is what the whole thing is. And then it says also, Bhuta Bhavyasya, let me just make, So, Vijugupsate, also Adi Shankara talks about it as Na Gopaitum Ichhati iti abhiprayah praptatvat, because everything is already gained. So, Vijugupsate means goes and hoards and locks up, both. So here, na kaschit gopaitum ichhati. So, does not desire to lock up anything. Why? Praptatvat, because everything is already gained. So, you don't hoard when everything you already have. When you own the store, you don't have to hoard the ingredients. You own the whole shop. So, you don't have to keep putting things in dabbas and, saving them, because you own everything. So, that's why I first described it as hoard, and then also as locked up, because see, Sanskrit words, you cannot just describe it with one word. So this is the whole thing. So tataha, I'll just read the bhashya because we can. So yaha kaschid imam madhvadam karma phala bhujam. Yeah, karma phala bhuk, second case, bhujam jivam pranadi kalapasya dharayita atmanam. So pranadi kalapasya dharayita, jiva here is the one who sustains all the prana and everything. This kalapa means this assemblage of the body mind sense complex is sustained not by the breath, but by what? But by that which, that force, that atma, that sentience consciousness which lends its existence and its consciousness to this breathing jiva. Kalapam vijanati antikat, antike, samipe, meaning as though it is very near to me intimately. Ishanam, Ishitaram, Ishanam means the ruler, Bhutabhavyasya, Kalatrayasya, he includes the present also, just like we did, Kalatrayasya, Tatah tad vijnanad urdhvam, after this knowledge is gained, atmanam na vijugupsate, na gopayitum ichhati, why? Praptatvat, because it's already gained. Yavadhi bhayamadhyastha anityam atmanam manyate, tavad gopayitum ichha, tavadeva gopayitum ichha. So yavad means at which time? You know, when. Yavat means when. When the person is insecure, then only the hoarding and the lockdown happens. Adi Shankara explained this very beautifully. He says, Yavat bhayamadhyastha, the one who is living in fear, you know. And then, anityam atmanam manyate, thinks of oneself as anitya. Anitya means what? Impermanent, subject to death, you know, subject to death. So long as one is in the midst of this fear that I am subject to death and I am impermanent, one wants to have hoarding and lockdown. Because abhaya praptatvat, because here everything is gained, and more than anything that is gained, abhaya is gained. There is no bhaya. There is total security. There is no more fear. So when abhaya is gained, then everything is gained. And so until one is in the middle of fear, then one thinks of oneself, one considers oneself as what? As subject to smallness, subject to limitations. So the hoarding, the lockdown happens. Tavad gopayitum ichhati atmanam. So one seeks to protect oneself. And what is this self? The mind body sense complex here. You know, yadatu nityam advaitam atmanam vijanati. When, however, when one knows that I am non-dually one and I am nitya, limitless, when one knows that, tada kim kaha kutaha va gopayitum icchet. So who is there to hoard? Who is to be hoarded against? Who is locking anything away from whom? You know, these are rhetorical questions. They are not meant to be answered. Even if you answer it, you say no, nobody. Yeah. So, kim kaha kutaha va. So, who, how, where, who is protecting? From whom is it being protected? For what it is being protected? For what are you locking down things? Because all there is you. So, what is the need to lock anything? There is no need to lock at all, because you are not trying to protect anything, because you are no longer in the midst of fear. That is what it is. So the insecurity here manifests in the form of fear. More we'll see next week. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Now Tattva Bodha is there? No, it says in 7 minutes, in 1 minute Tattva Bodha is there. Okay.
Tomorrow.
Oh, thank God.
Tomorrow.
Oh.
Tomorrow. Oh,